She asked me why. I just went on and told her. She asked me why. I just went on and told her. She asked me why. I just went on and told her. She asked me why. I just went on and told her.
That Indian blown whistle, if I may ring the bell. That Indian blown whistle, if I may ring the bell. That Indian blown whistle, if I may ring the bell. That Indian blown whistle, if I may ring the bell.
It's bad, you know.
I had a different old Stratocaster, said it wouldn't last me my whole life. I ripped
Welcome, everybody.
and banged that thing
Welcome
till it couldn't take.
to the Owl's Nest BBQ Show, October 9th edition, Wednesday night. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Glad you joined us, Alvin and Ken. Welcome in the house. Al Salvage, Ken Smith, already in the house here on the Owl's Nest BBQ Show. Great show lined up for you tonight. Joe Pearce. Let's see. Where does that name sound familiar, Joe Pearce? Oh, he's that guy from Barbecue Pitmasters in Barbecue Pitmaster All-Stars and Food Network's Barbecue Brawl. That's right. Slaps Barbecue. That's Joe Pearce, the pitmaster of Slaps Barbecue and owner of Slaps Barbecue, the best barbecue restaurant in Kansas City, will be with us in just a few moments here on the Owl's Nest BBQ Show. Please share this on your Facebook page, on your social media. Joe will be taking questions. I've got time set aside for questions on Facebook, so if you have a question, please feel free to chime in on Facebook, and I'll do everything I can to get those questions to Joe. He's a wealth of information. He's got a school coming up in November that we're going to tell you about, and we're going to talk about. We've got something special happened to him this weekend, and I feel like the Owl's Nest BBQ Show had something to do with it. We'll explain that in just a little bit. Remember, we are brought to you by Butcher Barbecue Products and the complete line of Butcher Barbecue products available at the Owl's Nest Barbecue Supply Store in Ooltewah, right next door to my Midnight Oil service station. Butcher Barbecue Products, rubs, just like this grilling addiction. Folks, every protein David Bosco turned in last year at the Jack Daniels Invitational Barbecue World Championship that he won had this rub on it, grilling addiction. And you can get that at the Owl's Nest Barbecue Supply Store in Ooltewah. We're also brought to you by Pit Barrel Cookers, the number one barrel cooker in the United States. Right back here, we've got them at my store, the Owl's Nest Barbecue Store, again, right next door to the Midnight Oil, where we have Michelin tires. Now, these guys right here, Michelin tires, we are the Michelin dealer in Ooltewah. Michelin tires, Pit Barrel Cookers, Butcher Barbecue Supply. Well, what else could you ask? We had two people came in today, and they were women. And this is how beautiful what barbecue is. Women came in, they were getting a set of tires. They went into the waiting room, watching the big 65-inch screen TV in our real comfortable waiting room. And they both got up and they looked around and they asked some questions about the barbecue rubs. And they said, do you have to use this on barbecue? Can you use it? I said, oh, you can use it on anything. It's just like seasoning. It is seasoning. And both of them bought grilling addiction. I've got a big sample bar set up. They came in there and bought it. They go, they said, this stuff is great. I told them the story about David Bosco. They bought it. So you can come in and you can sample all of the rubs that we have. We've got all of David Bosco's rubs. We got some of Sweet Smoke Q rubs. We are going to have Sugar's rubs soon, as soon as I get my order in, from Lene Oxley out in Washington State. So every week we add something to the store that you can come by and browse and look at. And that's at the Owl's Nest Barbecue Supply Store in Oldville. Come by. I'll show you how the pit barrel cooker works. It's a lot of fun, easy to use, and you will become part of the pit barrel nation that we've got going on in Ooltewah. It's a lot of fun. It's all over Ooltewah, East Brainerd. A lot of people have pit barrel cookers. They're really catching on because they're easy to use. They're very inexpensive, only $2.99. Everything in that box you need is in that box to smoke. You can be smoking. The only thing you have to do to put it together, you put the top on the lid, or you put the handle on the top of the lid of the smoker, and you're done. It's put together. You can be cooking. You can get that for a present. You can be cooking in about 40 minutes once the charcoal gets good and hot. It's that easy to use. We're going to talk about barbecue schools tonight. Joe Pearce has got a barbecue school coming up in November in Kansas City. And also announced just the day before yesterday, David Bosco, the reigning world champion barbecuer of the world via the Jack Daniels Invitational that he won last October. And he will be traveling to Lynchburg at the end of this month to defend that title. He announced day before yesterday that he is having a barbecue school in Mulberry, Tennessee, which is just a hop, skip, and a jump from Lynchburg. They're having it at the Butt something ranch. I wrote it down, but I forgot my notes. I left them in my other briefcase. But you can go to David's website, butcherbarbecue.com, and you can get signed up for it. And all the details are there. It's going to be an overnight school, and you can really learn a lot. You know, I've been to 2 schools in my 7 going on 8-year barbecue venture. Now, the first school I went to was down in Calhoun, Georgia. Rug Bagby from the Florida Barbecue Association came up to Calhoun at the campground there and had an overnight school. Great school. Rub is a fantastic cook and a fantastic teacher. Then we went up to Bowling Green, Kentucky, and took Donnie Brace barbecue school. Now, I'll tell you, Donnie. Now, Rub's class was great. Don't get me wrong. It was super. But we went up to Donnie's school, and guess who is at Donnie's school? Malcolm Reed, Mark Lambert, just to name a few. You've heard of Malcolm Reed, don't you? He does a little YouTube channel, has like 500,000 viewers on his channel. Yeah, he was there at Donnie's school, learning how to do barbecue. Malcolm Reed, learning from Donnie Bray, and I learned a whole lot of stuff you would never dream about. When you're cooking competition barbecue, and then you can take that knowledge and turn it right into backyard knowledge, where you'll have an edge in the backyard, making the flavors in your pork butts, briskets, ribs, and chicken stand out even more. So if you're interested in one of these schools, we're going to talk to Joe Pearce in just a few moments about his. Go to David Bosca's website, butcherbarbecue.com, and you can get signed up for David's school. And I know David personally, and he will not leave there until you are satisfied that you have all the answers to your questions when you leave his school. But go check it out. It's worth just a visit to the website, and his phone number's on there. You can call him up and ask him questions. He'll love to tell you all about it. Also, coming up, not this Saturday, but the following Saturday, the 19th, is the Ooltewah Oktoberfest and Lamar Johnson Classic Barbecue Contest. They've got 12 teams now. The teams are full. And we'll be turning in ribs, we'll be turning in steak, and we're turning in a meat plus 2, a meat and 2 side dish competition. And we're real excited about that. I think that's a great idea that Marcus Perez had. And we're really looking forward to that. And Frank and I, my partner, in Owl's Nest Barbecue, we will be selling brats. That's right. We're going to do about 400 brats, and we're going to be selling them the day of the festival from 12 until 5 or, until they run out. So make sure you come by and get some brats. I've really been practicing. I've talked to Meathead last night. I've watched a ton of YouTube videos because I didn't really know a lot about brats. They're not that hard to do, but I wanted to get a good flavor profile, and I think I've got one. And next week we'll share that with you. And coming up next week, let's see, what is today's? Today's date is today's date is the 9th. Okay, next week, Charlie Loomis will be with us, and he's going to be telling us about his participation in Beat Bobby Flay that's going to be airing at the end of the month. And the Wednesday after that, Lene Oxley will be with us. And if that name sounds familiar, again, a veteran of Barbecue Pitmasters and Barbecue Pitmaster All-Stars, Lene will be with us as well. So we've got a great October lined up for you here on the Owl's Nest Barbecue Show. And again, we appreciate you joining us. We're going to head to the hideaway right here now. We're going to put you on a little phone, a little music to listen to, and then we're going to go to Joe Pearce. Hang on. We're going to get Joe right back.
I had a 54 Stratocaster, said it wouldn't last me my whole life. I ripped and tore and banged that thing till it couldn't take one more night. I'm gonna wear you out. Yes, I'm gonna wear you out.
And just like magic, looky there.
Till I wear you out.
All the way from Kansas City, Kansas, the purveyor of Slaps Barbecue, the one and only Joe Pearce. Joe, how you doing?
I'm good, Steve. How are you, man?
Can you see everything okay?
I can see everything all right.
All right.
You?
I'm just making sure you're better at this than I am. So you are full of confidence. And the first time I met you, you don't even remember about it, but the first time I met you was in Nashville at the Barbecue Cup there at Titan Stadium. And you came over and ate a bison hamburger with us. And we had
it sounds like me eating somebody else's food.
Yeah. But we had a great conversation. You were very gracious in your time. And because, of course, I was starstruck and I wanted to know all about Barbecue Pitmasters. And you were so nice to tell us all about it. As of late, you've heard of Joe. He's a veteran of Barbecue Pitmasters, Barbecue Pitmasters All-Stars, Food Network's Barbecue Brawl that you just starred in just a few months ago. And I may have missed one, Joe. Have I missed a television appearance that you've done?
We were on Michael Simon's Burgers Brew and Q. It wasn't a competition. He just came out to the restaurant and ate our food, said he liked it, and I don't know if that's how I got on the barbecue brawl thing, but Michael Simon and I have kind of stayed in touch over the years, and super good dude and great cook, and somebody I look up to in the food world. So,
well, we all do, and he's very entertaining too. And before we get on that, Joe, I want to say we set this up last week.
Yeah,
and a lot of shows take credit for show karma, that when you're on their show, the next week they win or the week after they win. But
right.
I think the Owl's Nest Barbecue Show has taken the show karma to a new level. That once you talk to me, you win. And now, am I wrong on that?
Well, it definitely happened last week. We had
did.
a conversation, and then we were down in Lebanon, Missouri, and had a great cook down there, and came out on top against some high caliber teams. You
were at the Guts Glory Ram Barbecue Showdown. You won the grand championship with a 707, which is that your highest score ever? That's an insane score.
It's up there.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I can't say that it is. I actually cooked a 708 at a barbecue contest where I finished second, which is never fun.
No.
But we lost to Dirt Road Barbecue, who just a hell of a cook, and they cooked a 709 that day. So
third in chicken, first in ribs, fifth in pork, and first in brisket, and then you take away the GC after talking with us out here at the Owl's Nest Barbecue Show. So I'm going to say we are the rabbit's foot of competition barbecue at this point. Tell us about your day job, then we're going to get into the competition part of your life. But your day job is pretty good.
My day job is my brother and I own and operate Slaps BBQ here in Kansas City. We are blessed to be busy and busier than every year before that we've been open. And, it's gone from a job that him and I have to manage and be in a specific role every day to now we're managing staff and, we're keeping our eye on food quality and production and all the stuff in between. And, we now have 25, 26 people on staff, and they are just as much as part of Slaps BBQ as I am at this point, and they keep the motor running, and I'm out there, promoting the brand and pushing the name and cooking competitions and being on TV shows but I'm there almost every day. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, I'll be at a barbecue contest, but if I'm not doing that, I'm usually down at the restaurant. So.
Yeah, and y'all opened in I read about it on your website. A good website too, by the way. That's
Thank you.
Really nice. Slaps, let's see, don't tell me, slapsbbqkc.com. I believe
that's it. You nailed it.
And 2014, you opened up Slaps Barbecue.
Yeah, it was.
That's a long time ago. How old are you? 15? Yeah. Would you drop out of high school?
Pretty much.
To open a restaurant?
Pretty much. I'm 33 now, so we opened the barbecue restaurant when I was 28. So.
I've got Nikes that are 33, Joe. And that's
funny.
Opening a restaurant at 28. That's huge. Now, how old's your brother?
He's just a tad older than me. He's 37. Yeah, just turned 37 in September.
So tell me the beginning of Slaps Barbecue Restaurant. You and your brother, obviously, you're very close. You cook together on television, and you can tell your rapport is wonderful. Tell what's it like working with your brother, and how did y'all get together on this idea for a restaurant?
We started separately cooking barbecue on our own, and we tend to overcommit really quick to any idea or hobby that we have in our life. And we just happened to be talking to each other, and I said, "Oh yeah, I'm smoking some ribs." And he was like, "Oh, I'm smoking some pork." And so it was funny that we were both doing the same thing at about the same time. And then it kind of blew up into swapping smokers and, going up to his house and coming down to mine. And we just started cooking a lot. And we were both working jobs where we had some free time during the week to be able to cook barbecue kind of whenever we wanted. And so we got way obsessed with the idea of cooking barbecue.
Obviously.
And then we entered our first competition in 2012, and it was kind of like, hey, this is something we really like doing. We finished horrible. We in the middle of the pack. I think our best finish was the pork category in like 27th place out of 60 something teams. So it's not like we were good. We just knew that we wanted to do this again. So then we signed up for another contest, and we won. We won pork, and we were like second or third in brisket. And we had a call on ribs, and we finished like third overall.
In your second
and
contest.
that was it. We were ready to cook for the rest of our lives.
I'm sure y'all went out that Tuesday and bought a trailer.
Not quite. We cooked out of a 15-passenger conversion van for a little bit.
Yeah.
And then we bought a 16-foot white enclosed trailer that, I mean, we didn't even have a table in. We just cooked outside. It just hauled all our equipment around for us. And then as we started doing more and competing more, we got a porch trailer, and then I got a bigger porch trailer. And, now I'm on the road 35, 40 weekends out of the year cooking barbecue.
And what you leave behind, you got a restaurant.
Yeah. We got a pretty successful restaurant in Kansas City that keeps me busy.
Yeah, and I think that's great. Do people come in and look for you? Say, hey, where's that guy on television?
Constantly.
Yeah.
I was looking through a couple cases of ribs for the contest I'm cooking this weekend, and all I hear from somebody on the line who's like, "Hey, is that Joe?" And I turn around and give him a wave, and my hands were all porky from ribs, so I didn't go up there and say hi. But I get it quite a bit. It's really hard for me to be there on like a Saturday because we have a lot of new people come in on Saturday, and there are a lot of people who want to, see my brother and I and have conversations and talk barbecue. And, I'll get sucked into a 45-minute conversation because unfortunately I can talk barbecue all day long until, my lips are chapped and mouth is dry and everybody else is bored. So,
yeah, but I bet you love it though when they come in there and they're spending their money and you're very appreciative. I went to a lecture a couple months ago down in Atlanta, Sam Jones, and he was professing the same thing that you are, that how hard it is to work sometimes when people are coming in and they want to talk to Sam. They always saw you on television, and they want to ask all the questions about the whole hog thing and the chopping up thing. And he's like you. He says it's just part of it. It's just you just go out there and you talk sometimes for 45 minutes because and Joey said the same thing. He says because I love talking about barbecue.
Yeah.
And
it's a blast. We get it every day to an extent, and unfortunately, a lot of my job is sitting behind a computer nowadays, and handling behind the scenes stuff. And my brother does the same thing. So, we don't walk through the restaurant as much as we were when we were running the line and slicing the food and cooking the fries and running the smoker. So there are days that I go up there just to hang out and have a good time with some of our customers. And we did an event down at Lebanon with the National Barbecue League where we were serving a VIP dinner, and I was slicing ribs in front of people on the line, and I forgot how much I missed it. It was fun to engage and interact, and it was kind of dinner and a show where I got to tease people, make fun of them, put whole slabs of ribs on their plate, and it was a lot of fun, and
I got to eat that.
There's a part of me that missed that because we did it every day for 2.5 years while we were on the line working at Slaps.
Yeah, well, you've got a giant personality, and I could see why people would come in there and look and be looking for you. What the National Barbecue League? I try to keep up with that. To me, it's a fantastic idea. I think last year you won two of the proteins, didn't you? Was it last year or in 2017?
Yeah, no, last year was the first year we won the rib category and we won the brisket category.
I thought you did. Yeah. This is against folks. This is against those really good
teams. That's probably.
Go ahead.
What was that?
No, I was saying these are
out of those
top
teams, I thought it was a pretty solid accomplishment.
Yeah. How do you like doing that? Competing against all those guys?
I mean, I love it. It's it puts. I've always liked competition barbecue because you get to cook against the best teams in the country week in and week out. And, it makes you none of those guys are going to give a contest away. Brad and I were talking, Brad Leininger and I were talking about that last week. When you get into the top 15, top 20, top 25 cooks in the country, none of those guys are going to take a weekend off. If they're showing up to cook barbecue, they have great meat. They have the attention to detail. Like any of us do, and they're there to win the contest. So if you can go down and compete against some of the, top 25, I would say even top 50 teams in the country and do well, that says something about, the food you're cooking at any given weekend.
Well, that contest you won last weekend, I think Tim was there, Shake and Bake. Boomerang Barbecue was there. Those guys are insane, just insanely good. And they're just good all over the nation.
Yeah. Boomerang's on a different level.
Yeah.
I've tasted his food a couple times throughout the contest this year and last year, and everything I've tasted has always been what I thought was better than mine. Mm-hmm. I tasted his brisket at a contest here in Kansas City at a high school, and it might have been one of the better briskets I've ever had in my entire life. And I felt so bad because he didn't get a brisket call. He won the contest, but he didn't get a brisket call, and I 180 brisket, and my brisket wasn't even on the same playing field as his. And but that's how barbecue goes sometimes, and that's just sometimes how it works.
Well, I think the National Barbecue League. I think you guys have got a pretty good thing going with that, and I enjoy following you. As a fan of barbecue and a fan of barbecue competition, I really appreciate the information that all you guys put out and all the videos and the correspondence that y'all put out. It makes it interesting in a sport that's kind of been a standoffish, stay to yourself sport. I think it's good that you guys are kind of stretching your legs and stretching your imagination and trying to encourage people to, come on into the trailer. We want to show you how we do it.
Absolutely. And that was the point from the beginning. Barbecue the struggle has always been, it's not a spectator sport. And trying to figure out how to bridge the gap between TV and sport was what really the National Barbecue League was trying to accomplish. And so I think Brad and Tim and the other guys a part of it have done a really good job working at trying to make it, friendly for people to come out and watch and participate. The funnest event I think we did was this year at the Big 12, where we were all facing each other. The tents were piled on top of each other, and there was a bunch of camaraderie and a bunch of, talking crap to each other. And it was just a blast. We were right on top of each other, cooking barbecue, having fun. And, we were all razzing each other, and people were coming up and hanging out and watching, and we were inviting them in, letting them see what was going on. And it was just, it was a really, really fun event, and had that a little bit down in Lebanon this weekend. But we were all in our trailers, so it was a little less, where people could come up and hang out, but we were still talking to them. And that's where it changed into kind of the, let us put a dinner on for you. Let us cook the food. Let us handle, engaging some of your customers or whatever that is, and really have a blast doing it. So it's been really fun. And I hope the years to come, it just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger.
Joe, I remember when I was watching the Barbecue Brawl show, when they were interviewing you guys about your beginnings in barbecue. You went back to the backyard, saying you've always just loved cooking outdoors. You said I cooked it when I was a kid. I like to cook in the backyard. What in your competition, what do you take from competition and try to incorporate into the restaurant food, and what do you hold back on? Because competition barbecue is good, but it's a little too much of it. It goes a little too far, and really you can't eat a whole lot of it. But the flavors that you guys put out are just so insanely good. What do you how do you incorporate that into the food that you sell your customers? Because I'm sure everybody wants to come in there, or everyone that comes in there says, I want some competition ribs. And you probably say, no, you don't.
Actually, if I could make competition ribs at a price point that I could make some money on them, I'd probably do it. Mm-hmm. It's probably the item that we cook closest to competitions at the restaurant. We use honey and brown sugar, and we wrap them in foil, every day. And I think the biggest thing, from competition to the restaurant is we just try to have fresh food every day. And that is one of the hardest things to do in the barbecue restaurant world. I mean, the calculation of how many briskets, pork butts, burn-ins, points, chicken, ribs that we're cooking every day is the hardest part of my job, to make sure that A, we don't sell out at 1 o'clock, and B, I don't roll 16 briskets. And so it's a constant challenge to make sure we have enough food and not too much all at the same time. But competition barbecue and the flavors we have there is really meant for a judge to take one bite of and understand whether it's perfectly cooked and tastes great. And the restaurant world, I want them to keep coming back and eating and eating and eating. And it's kind of the rule of 3 in the restaurant biz. If you can get them to come in and eat 3 times, you got them for life. Mm-hmm. So we always try to make sure that our food is at the utmost highest quality that we can actually serve. But we want that food to be so good that they come back and eat it again. Like you were saying with competition barbecue, when I'm done eating my own food on a Saturday at a competition, I almost feel a little sick because of all the phosphates and salt and sugar that goes in it. You almost feel a little nauseous at the end of the day. And so finding that balance between what great flavor is and what the consumers want is completely different. We really just want to make sure food is fresh. It has a good flavor to it. You can't be too salty. You can't be too sweet. You got to be kind of middle of the road barbecue at a restaurant. And I say that, and I know my food is pretty good.
Yeah, absolutely.
When I say middle of the road barbecue, I don't mean, that doesn't taste good. I just really mean the stuff that you can recreate every day, on a high level. And that's what we try to accomplish.
In your restaurant, when you're prepping the food and cooking it, smoking it, whatever, do you sauce your meats? Like, do you sauce the ribs and pork before it goes out, or do you serve it just tender and let the customer choose their own flavor profile?
Yeah, all our food is served, I would say 90% dry. Pork, it's not a sauce. I guess it technically is. We drain all the juice that comes out of the ribs, which is just that honey and brown sugar. We strain the grease out of it, and we pour that juice over our pulled pork. So it's got a kind of a sweet flavor to it, and it helps it hold for quite a bit of time, and it helps it not dry out. And so I wouldn't call that a sauce. I would call that more of a kind of a mop that we put onto our pork. But everything else is served pretty dry. You will slice a pan of brisket and a pan of burnt ends at a time, so that's maybe 2 or 3 briskets at a time, or 2 or 3 points at a time. And they go into a hotel pan with some beef au jus that came out of the smoker with the briskets, and we'll hit it with just a little bit of light sauce to kind of keep the top from drying out, for the 25-30 minutes that it takes for us to go through that pan. But no, I wouldn't say we sauce anything excessively. And so, and our sauces are pretty competition style at the restaurant. We have not put a Kansas City or a traditional Kansas City style sauce on the tables. We run the slap sauce that I use every weekend at a barbecue contest. And then we kind of have a spicy sriracha competition sauce that we use as well that people tend to love. People ask me every day, when's it going to get bottled? And we've tried it a few times, and hasn't quite hit the standards we want it to hit. So when it's right, and we'll get it out there to everybody.
I know today at SLAPS BBQ in Kansas City, it's Wing Wednesday. I saw on the website. How many wings does SLAPS go through on a Wing Wednesday?
A lot. So we probably cooked about 1,000 to 1,200 wings today.
Whoa.
Yeah, and it's a process. We get 3-4 cases, sometimes 5 cases, just depending on how big the wings are. And each case takes up a rack on the smoker, and
This is what, 190, about 190 wings to a case, isn't it?
something like that. 200 is kind of where we think they fall into, and sometimes there's a little less, a little more. But yeah, we go through some wings on Wednesday, and the funny thing is, we thought we would have wings all day at some point, and we keep selling out of them. So that's a good thing.
What's the hardest meat to hold in a restaurant in barbecue?
Oh, ribs, hardest meat to hold. They're obviously the thinnest meat. They tend to dry out pretty quick. Obviously, wrapping them in foil and keeping them in that juice helps quite a bit. But I'll be honest with you. There are days that we'll have like one brisket left over, and we'll cool it down, and then I'll reheat it the next day and I'll slice it. And so I think it tastes better than some of the stuff that comes off the smoker the same day. It just has sat in its own juice, for hours, and then got more tender, and then we cooled it down, heated it back up, and it got even more tender, and it's drapes over your finger, almost falls apart. And it's the type of brisket that I want to eat. Doesn't necessarily make me the most money, But there are days that it's pretty good.
Well, at Slaps BBQ on Tuesdays, it's Taco Tuesday, so I'm sure you can get a brisket taco on Tuesdays at Slaps, right?
You can, and the tacos we do on Tuesday are actually deep fried burn-in tacos. And so
Deep fried.
we separate the point from the flat when we cook briskets and burn-ins, and there's always a thin layer of point meat left on the brisket. And so when we're trimming the brisket after it's cooked and slicing it, we'll take that off and we'll actually throw it back on the smoker and let it get a little more tender. And then we chop it up into little kind of half-inch by half-inch cubes, drop it in the deep fryer with a little fat on it. We'll toss it in some rub, and then that becomes our taco meat. And I got lucky and accidentally ate that one day, and that's how we developed burn-in street tacos. And now we sell a lot of tacos.
Isn't it fun in a restaurant? And I know it's a job, and I know it's work, but it's got to be fun when you develop a product like that, the street taco, burn-in, deep fried street taco, and then you serve it, and then people go absolutely ape over it. You've got to feel like you've accomplished something.
Yeah, absolutely. And part of my job is kind of that culinary creative director, if that's what you want to call it. And there's also a part of me that it's really hard for me to stay creative like that in the middle of summer when I'm out there cooking so many barbecue competitions. There's something I'm doing every night of the week to get ready to cook those contests. So really from November to March is really the time I play a lot in the kitchen and kind of build recipes and ideas that I can do for the next year. And street tacos was one of those things. We do a Cuban every Friday with smoked pulled pork, applewood smoked ham, and then the pork we toss in our own mustard sauce that we make, which is probably my favorite sandwich on the menu right now. So we get these ideas. We do chili. This year we did chili almost all year, except for when it was hot in the summer. We did a sandwich called a Big Texan where we cooked actual, I think the street term is cattleman's cut. It's beef ribs. It's beef short rib, just the meat off of those. And we'll cook that almost like we do brisket point and slice it thin and put it on a sandwich. And we call it the Big Texan. And so in the off season, when I'm itching to cook barbecue is the time that I create all this, all these new menu items. So I'm actually getting really excited about coming up November, December, January, and February here to really play around in the kitchen at Slaps and work on stuff. In Kansas City is got a little identity crisis right now where everybody's wanting a thick slice Texas style brisket. And there's a couple places that are doing it really well. So we've had it on the menu a couple times, but we're going to put what I call a Texas fatty brisket on the menu where we're just, because that's my favorite part.
It's everybody's favorite part once they eat it. Yeah.
Yeah. The brisket point is my favorite part. So we're salt and peppering a brisket point. We're going to cook it to tender and slice it up and serve it like they do down in Texas. And I've played around with it for about a month and a half, 2 months now. And we're gonna put that out there here in December, hopefully, and hopefully people like it. It's one of those bites of food that you say, I don't know how much of that I can eat, but I'm gonna put all of I can in my mouth.
but I'm gonna eat as much as I can until I can't eat anymore. Hey, tell us about this. Tell us about the school coming up, because this thing is it looks like it's going to be big.
Yeah, so we try to do a couple classes every year. So we do one in February and try to do one in the fall as well. This is our fall class. Our February class, we had almost 40 people on the patio at Slaps BBQ, learning the secrets that I've found out the hard way over the last 5 years cooking competition barbecue. And so this November at the Kansas City barbecue store in Olathe, we're doing a kind of a condensed class. We're going to have 20 to 25 people there just because of the venue. When you get too big, you kind of lose the aspect of being able to ask questions and whatnot. So 20 to 25 people, we got 10, 11 people signed up already. So those next spots are going to go pretty quick. I get an email or a text about them daily. But I literally go through the entire process from sourcing meat, the trimming meat, making injections, what rubs I use, how to mix the sauce, how long it takes to get all of that ready, what nights of the week I do specific items. And so we talk about all that on the first day. And then the second day, I encourage everybody to get there at 4 o'clock in the morning when I get up, and I put brisket on at 4:15. I put pork on at 5, and the class goes, and it's running a contest timeline. And I'm turning chicken in at noon, ribs at 12:30, pork at 1, brisket at 1:30, and I'm hitting those marks. And I tell people, just getting into competition barbecue, you're going to spend some money, you're going to lose some money. Taking a class always helps. It jumps the curve a little bit.
That is the best money you'll spend is taking a class.
Exactly. Especially when you get into how much these contests cost, I wouldn't want to spend $600, $700, $800 every weekend and go out there and fail horribly. So, learn. It doesn't have to be my class. It can be the Getting Basted, Tim Shear, Shake and Bake class for hot and fast. I would recommend taking a class on the style of pit that you cook on. If you're cooking on cans, take the can class. You're cooking on offset, take an offset class. And where I tell people they're going to learn the most is that 25, 30 minutes of boxing and turning in. I can't tell you that my food is perfect every weekend, but I will tell you that I will make sure every piece of food that I put in the box is as good as I can make it. And there are things that I don't even know I do anymore that I just subconsciously do, whether it's flavor or seasoning or add a moisture right at the end. And that's really where contest or won and loss is making sure that every piece of food you put in the box is the best piece of food that you have. And so there's those little things that you'll learn as you cook competition barbecue, that take a long time to figure out. And if you can take a class and jump that curve, I mean, you'll start getting calls right away. And the hard part where we are, and I say this with a grain of salt, but I feel Kansas City is some of the toughest competitions out there in the country. We have teams that cook every weekend here, just like you do anywhere else. And I'm not dogging anywhere, any other part of the country's barbecue contest, but you're going to have teams that are consistently in the top 10 and the top 50 and the top 75 in the country at every barbecue contest we cook at. So if you're a backyard team and cooking 1 or 2 a year, and you're trying to figure out why you're not getting calls, it's because everybody else out there is put in an extreme amount of time, effort, and money in becoming, some of the best barbecue cooks in the country. And taking a class just jumps you to that next level.
And what you're saying about the winning and losing the contest in the last 5 minutes, I had a friend here in Chattanooga that got he won. He had a KCBS event close a couple months ago. He won the pork division. And and he was talking about it, and I think it was the first time he got a call in first place. We were talking about it, and he said the funny thing was, he says, my pork butt wasn't anywhere near done. He said, but the part I needed was done. And I said, there you go. Right. The part that I needed to put in a box was done, and it was done perfectly. So,
and that's part of the reason why I don't let people try my food at barbecue contests. If I'm coming out and giving you something, it's because I think it's really good. Mm-hmm. But if you just come up and I door shut and you knock on the door and you say, hey, can I try a piece? I'm probably going to tell you no, because I don't have anything that I would consider good left over besides what I put in the box. And so the biggest example of that was this was 2014, 2015. We cooked a contest in Bonner Springs, Kansas. I got 4 calls, end up winning the contest. And the guys next to me were KCK, Kansas City, Kansas police officers that had come into the restaurant several times. And the guy came up to me and he goes, hey man, I've never had competition brisket before. I'd love to try your brisket. And I said, absolutely, man, I'll get you a piece. No problem. Well, turn-ins got done. Hated my brisket. It was dry. It was overcooked. I just didn't like it at all. we end up winning brisket and we won the contest. And when the guy came over and asked for a slice before awards, I told him, I said, man, it was trash. I threw it away. And then I turned around and win brisket. And I don't think I've seen that guy back at Slaps Barbecue since then. But
He's scratching his head
that,
going, I don't understand
that
this sport.
happens.
It happened. Joe, real quick, give me the dates of the school and how people can, and if they're interested in it, how they can get signed up for it.
Yep. So the dates are November 9th and 10th in Olathe, Kansas at the Kansas City Barbecue Store. Mm-hmm. And if you want more information about it, you go to slapsbarbecuekc.com/classes. There's a spot to sign up. You can always shoot us a message on our Facebook page at Slaps Barbecue KC, Instagram, Twitter. It's all out there. Search Slaps Barbecue. Send us a message. We'll get you taken care of.
And your brisket trim that you did for the NBL, is it still up on YouTube? Mm-hmm. Folks, go watch
that.
This.
Is still up there.
That is a fantastic, and the way you did, you just separated your point, and to make those perfect. And I mean, if you could put a mic on those things, and I guarantee you they would be within 10,000th of an inch or a centimeter together, because those the way you trim that, it's like a block. It's incredible. Yeah. And it shows what great skill. Joe, I want to tell you something. You're 33 years old, but you have the wisdom and the panache of a man much, much older than your age. And I sure appreciate you spending the time here in Ooltewah, Tennessee on the Owl's Nest Barbecue Show. Good luck to you, and let's hook up again later next year and get an update on Joe Pearce and Slaps Barbecue. How about that?
Absolutely, Steve. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Joe, and good luck to you. Joe Pearce, everybody, from Kansas City and Slaps Barbecue. What a fantastic young man, and it was just a pleasure talking to him. All right, here we go. We're going to get out of here now. We appreciate everybody watching. We appreciate everybody listening to Joe Pearce. Don't forget, October the 19th is the Oktoberfest in Ooltewah. Also, October the 19th, over in the Commons in Collegedale, is the Scenic City Big Green Egg Festival, sponsored by Elders Ace Hardware. Dr. Barbecue, Ray Lampe himself, will be there. Folks, this is going to be the greatest day of barbecue in our area, and it's all happening within 2 miles of each other, one in Collegedale and one in Ooltewah. You'll be able to go visit both. You can go to the Big Green Egg Festival, get in the car, come over to Ooltewah's Oktoberfest, and see all the things that'll be going over there. You can watch the barbecue contest over in Ooltewah at the Lamar Johnson Classic. Then you can go over to the Green Egg Place if you want to and watch the cooking classes by Ray Lampe, Chris Grove. He'll be doing a class. If you're into barbecue, if you're into grilling, any live fire cooking, and you live in our area, I'm talking about Chattanooga, Collegedale, Ooltewah, Appleton, Cleveland, Soddy, all the surrounding areas, Ooltewah, Collegedale will be the place to be October the 19th if you are any kind of a live fire fan, because there'll be plenty to see and there'll be plenty to watch for. Everybody, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. We'll see you next week, right back here on Wednesday for the Owl's Nest Barbecue Show. Until then, everybody, please drive safely and please buckle up and come see us at the Owl's Nest Barbecue Supply Store in Ooltewah, right next door to the Midnight Oil service station and Michelin Tire Direct. For 36 years, we've been serving the good folks of Ooltewah. They've been awful good to us, and we appreciate it.
Miles and 69